In this step, we will figure out your electricity consumption. For this, pull up your last 6 electricity invoices. As a billing period normally spans 2 months, you can add the consumption of the last 6 invoices together and you will get your yearly consumption. You can add the consumption of the 6 invoices together in Excel or use a handheld calculator, or even a piece of paper will do the job. In the end, you will end up with a number of kilowatt hours you consumed in the last 12 months. To know this number is essential, because only when you know your yearly consumption, you and your installer can figure out what size of system might be right for you. Now, at this point, if you want, you can just note down your yearly consumption and proceed to the next step, and leave the calculations to your installer. They have professional tools that will determine the best sizing and positioning of the panels at your personal location, and they have the experience and will be able to discuss arising questions with you. But if you are like me and want to dive into the details yourself a little bit, here's some background of how the size of your system will be determined. First, the maximum size for residential solar installations in Cyprus is 10.4 kilowatt peak. So that is the absolute biggest system you will ever be able to get approved. Second, when you apply for the system, the electricity authority will look at the last 6 invoices to determine your annual consumption and allow up to 90% of that consumption as installed kilowatt peak size of the solar system. This is the other regulatory factor that sets your personal upper limit of possible installed power. And by the way, if you do not live in your house for 6 billing periods, you can still get the solar system approved. You just might need to prove your consumption is high enough for the PV system you apply for. These 2 limitations are of regulatory nature, but then there's also the truth that there's no use to go for a bigger system than is actually needed. The solar irradiance in Cyprus is relatively high. This means that, as a rule of thumb, you can calculate that 1 kilowatt peak of installed power can produce around 1.6 kilowatts. Of course, this depends strongly on the location of the system, but is an average value you can use for some first estimations. So if your yearly consumption is 10,000 kilowatt hours, you can divide 10,000 by 1,600, which is 6.25. So a 6.25 kilowatt peak system might be around the right size to aim for. Now, this is a rough estimation, of course, and your installer will make more detailed calculations, but it will give you an idea. If you want to go even further, you can use the PVGIS tool of the European Union, which is available for free, to get a very detailed estimation for your specific location, including direction and tilt of your roof. I will create a separate video for this, as it is interesting but not necessary to do so for the normal customer, as the installer will do this for you. So now, to conclude this step, note down your yearly consumption and we move on to the next step.